Howdy, howdy do. Who fans, welcome to live stream number 3. Hope you're all well. Hope you've all had a cracking week. That you've managed to do something Doctor Who related. It's good to be back on the streams. I said that I was going to do these weekly. I did pretty well for the first couple of weeks, but then last week was a bit of a little bit of a nightmare week for me, just work-wise and other bits and pieces, so I couldn't do it last week. But yes, we are back, number 3. So I hope you're all good, all well, and that you seriously have managed to do something Doctor Who related now that Series 12 has come to an end. Excuse me. And you need to find something to do Doctor Who related. So it's a good job that there's a certain podcast knocking around that you can get your Doctor Who news and all that stuff from. So those of you that have not seen the stream or listen to the podcast before, I do a podcast every week with my friend Adam, a good buddy, my co-host Adam. You might know him as the Geek's Handbag over on YouTube. We do a weekly podcast that goes out every single Friday, so head over there and check that out. It's www.bigblueboxpodcast.co.uk. All those links here in the these links and stuff here in the stream. Just whatever app you listen to podcasts on, just do a search for the Big Blue Box Podcast. You'll find us on there. And yeah, me and Adam, we do a weekly show, news, reviews, and merchandise roundups and all that jazz. So yes. Rightio, who have we got on this evening? Hooving Callum, welcome. Jordan, how you doing, buddy? Hope you're all good. Electorald, welcome back. Matthew Still, hello. John Griffiths, welcome, dude. Hope you're doing well. Dan Peters, hi, dude. Hope all is good. Craig Matthew, howdy. Hey Harry. Hey Harry or hey Garry. I'll settle for Harry. Not too bad. But no. Welcome to the stream. Thank you very much. Planet Zog. Hey, how you doing? DW Sebling. Hello, my favourite bearded man. Well, it's quite the compliment. Thank you very much. Helen Jones. Hi, Helen. You've finally made it into one of the streams. I think I saw one of your tweets, if I remember correctly. You said a week or so ago that you kept missing them. So it's cool. Welcome aboard. Who else we got? Plague 88. Hey, welcome aboard. Matt Steele. Cool Bad Wolf TARDIS, mate. Sorry, yeah. The TARDIS, yeah, cool. Planet Zog is Alex Kingdom. Oh, hi, Alex. How you doing, buddy? I hope you're well. Plague 88, how are you? Yes, I'm all good. Thank you very much. Jonathan S. Yay, didn't forget. Yeah, so I've had that quite a few times since I've started doing these streams. With people saying, oh, I was meant to jump on the stream and everything, and I just forgot and all the rest of it. So don't worry, dudes. Don't worry, it's completely fine. It's not. This is not required curriculum. So don't worry. But it's just lovely to have you all here. Lovely to hang out with you guys and chat Doctor Who and all that stuff. So cheers. Hope you've all got a cuppa or something. Helen, glad I've made it. I've got up on the other 2 live streams as well. Awesome stuff. Oh, thank you very much, Helen. Thank you. Leslie Shergold, evening. How are you? Hope you're well. Right, so kind of who chats this evening once we've got through some waffle and finding out how you all are and saying hellos and stuff. We're going to dive into a little bit on the ratings discussion that seems to have done the rounds since Series 12 started, really. Lots of thoughts and opinions and stuff on whether these ratings have harmed the show, if it's, people are not too fussed, or if, it's just a bit, like I said in the title, a bit of a storm in a teacup, or whether we should be bothered a bit more. Whatever. We'll do some chat around that, but I want to have a chat with you guys first. Make sure you're all good. Craig Matthew just finished listening to the 4th Doctor release with Romana, Adric and K9. Very good, and recommend if one has some time available. Oh, cool. So is that one of our writers, Mark Donaldson, put a review out for the 4th Doctor Volume 9, I think it was, a little while ago. And that apparently was really, really good. And I think Big Finish tweeted out his review and stuff, which is cool. So is it that one or is it a different one? Who else we got? Alex, been planning to go to LFCC, just checking prices for train, hotels, etc. Okay, did you get yourself there, dude? LFCC, I think I've made up my mind this year. I think I am going. A few people have said, Gary, why wouldn't you go? More to the point, why wouldn't you go to LFC? So LFCC. I didn't go last year purely because I just couldn't be bothered. There's no other rhyme or reason to that decision. It's just straight up, I could not be asked to go. Coupled with the fact that there just wasn't anybody there really that I was too bothered about meeting or anything. So, because what I typically tend to do is when they announce the various guests as they go through, like in the months leading up to the event, they normally do these reveals. I think they put a bunch of people on there quite early, and the people that they shove on there early are just things like the usual people that you see around the UK convention scene. So Sylvester McCoy, Colin Baker, Sophie Aldred, those sorts of people, Mark Strickson, those kind of people that you'd normally expect. And then what they typically do is, as we get closer to the event, I'm sure you guys know all this, but they'll tweet out a big thing like a big reveal, and then it'll be a big movie star or somebody. And a few years ago, they did this big Doctor Who hype thing where they announced. So we had those classic Doctors that were going to be there. Then they said it was Paul McGann was going to be there, then Eccleston, and then Matt Smith, and then David Tennant. And it was all really cool. So last year, there just wasn't anybody. There was a couple of Star Wars people that I wanted to go and meet, but overall, there just wasn't anything floating my boat, really. But this year, I think I'm just going to go anyway, just because there's a few people that were really cool to hang out with over the past few years and stuff, and a few people have nagged me to go and whatnot. So I think I will go this year. So if you can get to LFCC, Alex, that'd be cool. That'd be very cool. Who else has jumped on? Wow, there's a few of you now. Cool. Welcome aboard, everybody. Good evening. Jonathan S. Have you ever thought of replacing Alonzi with Geronimo on the Big Group? No. No. No, no, I'm joking. Alonzi is our just thing, I suppose. We've done it right from the beginning, really. So it would be weird if we changed that up. Just because it's like a good crack to do at the end, But I think Geronimo's... Geronimo, don't get me wrong, it's cool. It's very cool when Matt Smith does that, and it's really cool at the very end of the End of Time Part 2, where Tennant has just regenerated into Smith, and Matt Smith's going through that whole I'm a girl, no, oh, crikey, all that stuff. At the end, when he realizes that the TARDIS is crashing to Earth and stuff, and he looks up at the camera that's mounted above him, and he screams, Geronimo! That's very, very cool. So that is cool. But our signature sign off is Alonzi. So yeah, it is Alonzi. Who else we got? Who else have we got? John Griffiths, not Alonzi. Pocahontas. Why would we scream Pocahontas, John? Explain. My favourite bearded man. What's the bloody beard? Alex, I've never been to London before. Oh, okay, so you're in for a bit of a shock, dude. I don't know if you've been to any other conventions, Alex, but the big one in July, LFCC in July, that's a crazy few days, dude. So yeah, just be prepared for that, mate. It's very full on, and the venue. I've complained about this for so many years now, but the venue that they put the show on, which is the Olympia, which in itself is a really nice venue, but there's just it's just overcapacitated, in my opinion. They say that it's not, but if, in my opinion, it's too overcapacitated. So it's really, really busy, dude. So just be prepared for that. It's a great experience. Don't get me wrong. If you can bag some autographs and some photo shoots and stuff, or just have a look at the stalls and try and pick up some merch and whatnot, that's all great. Really, really cool. But it is a hectic few days, so just be prepared for that, mate. Martin Arnold, evening, buddy. Just cooking my dinner bigger on the inside. Hope you're doing well, Martin. Hope you're all good. I got your review for this week's podcast. Let me just double check. Yes, I got your review earlier, buddy. And yours, Alex. So all good. Got your reviews for that. Craig Matthew, it's been split into Series 9, Part 1 and Part 2. Part 2 was released last month, and I've just finished that one. Oh, I see. Okay, cool. Matt Steele just purchased the Dark Eye series. Have you listened to it? Is it as good as people say? It is very good, as people say. Dark Eyes is one of the best McGann box set / stories. You know, very, very, very cool. Dark Eyes. Yeah, it's definitely worth a listen. You need to get over that initial sort of first couple of stories in the box set, but once you've got, don't get me wrong, it starts really strong. It's very cool, and then once you get into sort of episode 3 onwards, and then obviously you dive into Dark Eyes Part 2, the next box set, and so on. It's very, very cool when you start listening to more of it, and you see the story expand. And McGann's just brilliant anyway. McGann is so good. He's just so good on Big Finish. So, yeah, very, very good pickup, dude. Adam, evening, Gary. No beanie. Yeah, no beanie this evening, buddy. It's really warm in my house this evening. I don't know what it is. I don't think the temperature's that warm outside, but for whatever reason, I just feel quite warm this evening. So no beanage this evening. Alex, it's cool. I'll just run people over in my wheelchair. Yeah, you probably don't want to do too much running over. But they have got accessibility stuff at that venue, Alex, so you should be cool. You should be cool. It's just really busy all the time. It never lets up. So I think for standard ticket holders, the doors open. I think the doors open around 10 o'clock, 10:30, something like that. And there's a massive queue that goes around the building before the doors have even opened. So, yes, it's just a crazy, crazy few days, but it's cool. You know, you get to hang out with some cool people and get to meet some of the stars of Doctor Who and all that. So it's all good. Joe Bowers, good evening, Gary. Good evening, Joe. Welcome aboard, buddy. Hope you're good. Craig Matthew, it's been easy to do something Doctor Who related with the current state of the world. With you know what, keeping everyone at home. Yeah, that's crazy, man. The whole coronavirus thing, it's pretty much shut down. I was actually wondering about some upcoming Who events, whether they were going to be cancelled or whether they were going to go ahead. I'm really not sure. We're off to the BFI this Saturday to watch The Talons of Weng Chiang. That's at the BFI at South Bank in London. So I'm hoping that goes ahead. Hoping that's not cancelled. And obviously LFCC in a few months. I think by July we will hopefully be in a better state where it's a bit more, you know, I think we're going into the delay phase now. But I think by July, hopefully they've reined it in a little bit. It wouldn't be too bad. But that'd be crap if they cancel LFCC or something. So, yeah. And I work from home, so it's not too bad for me. So during the day, I'm a remote worker anyway. I work here in my home office, so I'm all good. But I do know of a few people that have been told to work from home, and it's a bit, yeah, a bit of a culture shock. But yeah, man, it does suck big time, indeedy. Electoral says, I've only listened to Dark Eyes 1. They're so expensive. Do you know what? That's a good point. Even though Dark Eyes 1 and even 2, they're a few years old now, they're still a bit pricey. Are a bit pricey still. So you absolutely have to look out for the Big Finish sales that they do. And I think they do them a handful of times throughout each year. If you just keep an eye on their Twitter feed, or if you subscribe to their RSS feed or something, if you do that, then yeah, you'll pick up, or just other people will point you in the right direction. We always tweet out when they do a sale, so it's definitely worth trying to. If there's any box sets that you haven't got or you want, just keep an eye out on the sales, dude. Adam, looking forward to Saturday. I'm looking forward to Saturday, dude. It's going to be awesome. I can't wait to watch some more classic Doctor Who at the cinema. Anyone that's not been to the BFI, definitely try and go in the future. They're very, very cool events. The old BFI Doctor Who events, very, very cool. And I think who's at this one? They normally show the story, and then they do a Q&A after that. They normally spend about 20 minutes to half an hour doing a Q&A, which is very cool. I can't remember who's there this time. I know it's somebody that was in. It's the companion to the Doctor who was in the show. What's her name? Yes, her. That would be who. It's her. Yes. So I can't wait for that. It's going to be very, very cool. And I can't wait to see you as well, mate. Yeah, it's going to be cool. As long as you haven't got coronavirus. That goes without saying. So, yes. But it will be cool to catch up and have a pint. So, that's going to be very cool. Martin Arnold, been rewatching The Ice Warriors. Oh, nice. The Ice Warriors. What a cool Doctor Who monster. The Q&As with Louise Jameson. That's the one. That's the one. Those of you that listen to our podcast will know that Adam and I are absolutely shocking with names. We are absolutely shocking. So, yes, forgive me. Forgetting names is like one of our things. So, yes, it is Louise Jameson. So that's going to be cool. And the Ice Warriors. Yeah, Martin. Sorry. Yeah, very, very cool. Matt Steele, completely agree. McGann is my favourite Doctor. McGann's your favourite Doctor? Oh, nice. Nice, yeah, and he's awesome on Big Finish as well. Like some of the best stories that Big Finish have ever done are with McGann, his Doctor. So, yes, very, very cool Doctor on Big Finish. John Griffiths, who came up with the idea for charging extortionate prices for photos at conventions? I remember Adam saying Miriam Margolyes effing at him because she thought he'd taken her picture. Ah, yes. So I think that was at the London Westminster thing, either last year or the year before. Yeah. So John, the short version of that answer is it's just big money these days. So gone are the days where you could rock up to a convention and just drop a few quid and get a picture with somebody and an autograph and whatnot. It's just big money these days, big money. So, and it was fairly contained in this country as well. So for years and years, it just wasn't that much of a thing, you know. There was this whole. So over in the US, they've always had these big conventions like San Diego Comic-Con and WonderCon and New York Comic-Con, all those things, where they've been charging quite a lot of money for a while now. But in the UK, it wasn't that bad for a while. It's only been in the past 10 years, I say. It's slowly gotten worse and worse. I say worse, that's probably the wrong word. It's slowly risen up and up and up, the price for things. So, yeah, it's just because organisers like Showmasters, who run all of the Collectomania and the London Film and Comic-Con stuff, and MCM, all of those guys have realised that there's a huge market for, you know, celebrity pictures and, you know, especially in our kind of niche passion, if you like, which is science fiction and certain science fiction shows and movies and stuff. People will pay big bucks to get a photo with somebody. So, you know, they've cottoned onto that and realised there's loads of money to be made. On top of that, the people that are appearing at these conventions, so the big stars, they're charging more and more of a guarantee. They have something called a guarantee. So not every star has them, but some of the bigger stars, they will charge this guarantee fee, which might be, say, for example, Jason Momoa, just to put a name out the air. He might charge £10,000 as a guarantee. So that means that even if the show, doesn't make £10,000 in autograph and picture fees, he still walks away with 10 grand. So, these people are charging lots of money, and they're charging more and more each year. So they have to charge more for pictures and so on. I'm going on a bit of a tangent here, but yes, that's the thing, dude. It's just a good money-making business these days. So we have to accept that, and it's one of those things where, if you're not happy about it, if you don't want to pay the money, then don't pay the money. It's simple as that, really. It's like anything, really. If you don't want to pay, if you feel like it's too expensive or you don't want to pay it, it's all good. Just don't pay it. But there are ways that, there are other conventions where they haven't charged as much for these people to be there. So you can get a slightly cheaper ticket and a cheaper autograph price. It just depends on who you want to meet. So if any of you guys are fans of classic Doctor Who, then there's a couple of smaller conventions where they do have a lot of classic Who guests, but they don't charge as much. So there's a small convention over in Chiswick in London that is Adam's been there, I think, every year for the past 5 years. I've been to a few of them, and they're really cool. I think they're run by Phantom Events, and I think the ticket's only £10, £15, something like that. But the classic guests that they have, they only charge, 15 quid for a picture, or a tenner for an autograph or something like that. So, there are other conventions you can get to. It's only the real big ones that you're guaranteed to sort of drain your wallet. Even before you've been to the event, you've booked your ticket, which is around 20 quid now to get in. You've booked your photo shoots, that's a few hundred quid. Plus you need food and drink during the day and all travel expenses. So it just depends on what you're comfortable paying and what you're not, basically. Anyway, waffled on about that for long enough now. Who else we got in? Hoping there's some big stars there. There should be Alex, should be Dude. I don't think big events are due to be banned yet. That's cool. As long as we're not on like Italy style status where they've just locked everything down, then I think we're all good. Matt Steele, I was pretty lucky and got all 4 on eBay for just under 40 quid. Might be worth looking on there. Yeah, cool, dude. Wow, that is a good deal. Because they were about 40 quid when they were released. So all good. Jonathan S, only cinema event I've been to was Day of the Doctor. It was fantastic. So what's that then, John? Cinema event, Day of the Doctor. Oh, sorry, the episode Day of the Doctor, the anniversary. Yeah, that was cool when they put that on the cinema. That was very, very cool. Excuse me. Have you seen the BritBox Talons controversy? I haven't, Alex. Talk to me. What's that all about? The Talons controversy on BritBox. What, have they edited stuff out of it or something? Yeah, tell me, dude. Tell me spilled the tea with that one. Electrold, yeah, thanks, but I've had bad experiences with eBay, so I stay away personally. Oh, okay. Helen Jones, I'd love to go to a BFI event, but being in the northeast, it's a bit of an expensive trek. Yeah, there is that, Helen. Yep. It can be a bit of a trek down to the southeast. Oh, there's a really cool photo that just popped up on Twitter of Jodie Whittaker with Noel Clarke. Oh, that's a cool photo. Jonathan S, same here. I live in Chester. Yep, it's not cheap to get down here, guys. It's not cheap at all, but maybe do it like as a one-off. You don't have to go to every event. I think they do about 3 of them a year, maybe 4. It'd be cool to get down to one of them. Electoral shirt, so will always be my big 8th Doctor recommendation. Bloody incredible for audio. Oh, okay. I don't think I've heard that one, dude. Who else got? Craig Matthew recently finished Sophie Aldred's new book, and I enjoyed it so much I decided to start on the Virgin New Adventures. Started at the beginning. Can tell they were designed for adults. Craig, as a coincidence, as a coinkydink, if you head over to our website, bigblueboxpodcast.co.uk, and click on the articles link at the top, one of our writers, Jordan Shortman, he's gone through and he started to review all of those old Virgin books. So jump on there and have a look. He's got some great write-ups on those stories, but they are very cool. Very, very cool. Matt Steele shirt. So it's a cracking story. Personally, I love all the stories of McGann and India Fisher. They bounce off each other so well. Yeah, they do. India Fisher's really cool with McGann. Alex, for LFCC, would you recommend pre-booking photo shoots and autos? Because I have no idea. That would depend on who you want to get a photo shoot with. So, like I mentioned earlier, there's a bunch of people that they feature at every convention most years. So they're mainly classic Doctor Who people. So people like Sylvester McCoy, Colin Baker, sometimes Peter Davison if he's in the mood, sometimes Tom Baker if he's feeling well enough. And then you've got the classic companions like Sophie Aldred, Louise Jameson, Nicola Bryant, Matt Strickson, those sorts of people, those kind of people from Classic Who, they normally go every year. Those types of people, you don't need to pre-book really. They don't generally sell out. So you can just rock up on the day, bag yourself an autograph or a picture with those guys. The only time it gets a little bit busy is sometimes they have a TARDIS set at the event, and they sometimes do a joint photo op with two of the Doctors together. So I've got a couple of pics. One of them's with McCoy and McGann. Another one's with McGann, and another one, is with Colin Baker and McCoy. So they were relatively busy. I don't think they were sold out still, but they were quite busy. Anyway, those types of guests from Doctor Who, they don't generally sell out pre-show. If they announce any of the current newer Doctors, so absolutely people like basically anyone from Eccleston onwards, you need to pre-book those ones. You could get a ticket on the day, but you'd have to get there really early. So normally when you go into LFCC, they've got a big bank of desks where you just see tons of people queuing up to book their photo shoots for the day because they haven't pre-booked them. So they normally go fairly quickly in those queues anyway. So anyone that's popular, then you'll need to pre-book. More of the older science fiction lot, so any classic Doctor Who people, any of the original trilogy Star Wars people, older series like Battlestar Galactica and all of those kind of older sort of stars, you're generally okay to do it on the day. But current or newer modern stars, it's best to pre-book. Jonathan S. Racism equals talent. Yes, but that was just television of its time. I think it's very easy to drive down the let's label this as racism road when effectively that was just TV in the 70s. It wasn't trying to offend, and it wasn't trying to make a statement or anything. That's just television of its time. There's loads of other TV shows around that time of similar things were done. So yeah, I'm always against just ripping into TV shows that are donkey's years old, for being of its time. So yes, there is the race thing going on, but I don't think that was Doctor Who's MO at the time. Certainly not. I don't think it was a case of, right, we want to Yeah. Oh, Jonathan, yeah, I wasn't suggesting that was your view, mate. Yeah, I was just saying, in general, yeah, it's just a case of, but I've seen on Twitter a lot, and I've seen other people say, you know, Talons is awful because of that reason, and blah blah blah. So yeah, I don't think it was meant to offend or insult at the time. That was just, TV production back in the 70s, basically. Not all the time, but. Right, I'm just going to tweet out that we're live streaming, get some more people on. And then we'll get on to a bit of discussion around ratings, which is, after all, why I wanted to do the stream. Right. Right, what have you guys been saying? John Griffiths went to a local Comic-Con in Merseyside. The big star, was someone who played third classmate in Harry Potter. 3 pictures with him. He was quite nice, actually. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's what I was saying. You can do a bit of research and find out some other conventions that are knocking around. And the smaller ones typically don't charge as much. And actually, at the smaller ones, you've generally got a little bit more time as well to actually have a bit of a quick conversation with the people that you're meeting. So when I've met some people at LFCC, especially some of the photo shoots with the bigger stars, you are literally standing next to that person for 3 seconds, and then you're shoved out. So at the smaller conventions that aren't so packed, when you go up and you have your photo taken, or you go and get an autograph and they're sat at the table, you have got a bit more time. You've got at least a minute or so just to talk to that person, even if it's briefly, which is kind of cool. And you can do that at LFCC, like some of the other people that are dotted around that are not that busy. Like a couple of years ago, I met Ingrid Oliver, and her queue wasn't that busy, but I at least had a minute just to chat with her. So that was really nice. So you can do that, but the smaller cons, definitely. Smaller cons are better for that, for sure. Hoovy Callum, love the BFI events, always worth the trip down. Yes, they are, indeedy. Alex, a bunch of people are not happy with the actors who are playing the Asian. Yeah, okay, I thought so. Right, okay. Leslie Shergold, Daily Mail has just uncovered that they used yellow-faced actors in Talons, rightfully praised for its journalism in the Mail. So sarcasm is so hard to convey. I read you. Okay, right. Yeah, so Alex and Leslie and John, yeah, I mean, this is a thing it does pop up in Who fandom every now and then. Whenever you're discussing classic Who and you get onto Tom Baker's era and Talons comes up and all the rest of it, there's always that, this subject always comes up. And for the most part, most Who fans can kind of see they know the deal. They know the crack with Doctor Who. But yeah, it's always a bone of contention for some people. But there we go. But yeah, sarcasm is very difficult to put in text sometimes. Martin, I think it's possible to be aware of the yellow face and Talons and still enjoy the story. Absolutely, Martin. I think it is definitely it's a definitely enjoyable story. And if you just ignore that as soon as you think of it, so the second that topic pops up in your mind, if you just discard it immediately, then you're all good. Jonathan S., that wasn't my complete view. I was just letting you know what the controversy was on BritBox. Yes, yeah, I thought so, dude. Yep. Jordan Shortman, the Virgin New Adventures books are great. I really liked Time Rim, Exodus, Nightshade, Love and More, Lucifer Rising, White Darkness, Bright Right, and Iceberg. I'm currently reading Conundrum. Yeah, Jordan, I've loved your reviews, dude, for our site for the Virgin books. Keep them coming, mate. Yes, anyone that's thinking of jumping into the Virgin, there's the really old Virgin classic Doctor Who range. from donkeys years ago. Excuse me. They're really cool, and our writer Jordan has done a bunch of reviews already. So go and check those out. Craig Matthew, I haven't seen the BritBox stuff, but there's other stories such as the Toy Maker, which used the N word. I presume missing eps are not on it. So yes, that's correct. Missing eps are not on there, but they have got the animated stuff from the recent re-releases. So things like the Macroterra, those kind of sort of animated fill-ins, if you like, they are on there. But they, of course, the missing eps are not there. Alex, if I do go and I see you through the sea of people, I'll come and say hello. Of course, dude. Yeah, if you manage to get there, mate, then absolutely come and say hello. Be good. Adam, the ultimate, is your Twitter handle still the ultimate Whovian, dude? Adam says, which doctors haven't you met? I've not met Matt Smith, and I've not met. Let's see. I've not met Matt Smith. I've not met Peter Capaldi, and I've not met Jodie Whittaker. I've met all the others, though. I think that answers your question. Which doctors haven't? Yeah, so they're the ones I haven't met. Yeah, Alex, I love Talons personally. Yeah, Talons is an awesome story. Really, really good story, Talons. DW says, hello, dude. Welcome aboard. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the stream. Welcome to live stream number 3. It's great to have you all here. Those of you that have just jumped on, welcome. Those of you that don't know me, my name's Gary. I run a Doctor Who podcast called The Big Blue Box Podcast that goes out every single Friday. So go and give that a listen. And we've now started to do live streams too. So we're going to do a weekly live stream. This is number 3. So welcome aboard. We cover various topics as well as answering your guys' questions, any Q&As that are all good. So any questions that you guys have got, just fire them over. I mean, this is great stuff. This is all the stuff that we don't get time to do on the podcast. So on the podcast, we've got a very strict schedule. We do the intro /waffle/rubbish. Then we do what's going on in news. So we round up news, round up merchandise, and then we get on to our review of whatever it is that week. And again, for those of you that are new, on the podcast that goes out on a Friday, now that the Series 12 has finished, now that newer Doctor Who has finished, we have a rotation each month. So week 1 is modern Doctor Who, so Eccleston through to Capaldi. Week 2 is Torchwood. Week 3 is classic Doctor Who, and week 4 is the Sarah Jane Adventures, which we're sort of working through at the moment. So that's how our review rotations, which works really well for us. So yeah, that's the skinny on the podcast and stuff. So yeah, welcome aboard, everybody. It's great to have you all here. Jonathan S., I'm just waiting for BritBox to be available on Roku so I can watch Doctor Who on TV. Yeah, I'm not sure when it's coming to Roku, John. Hopefully soon, though. I did read in one of their press statements early on, I think. Could be wrong, but I'm sure I read that they were going to add it to various devices over the next year or so. So, yeah, just keep an eye out, dude. Leslie Shergold. I forgot to like and give a thumbs up. Done it now. Thank you, Leslie. Oh, much appreciate that. Thank you, guys. Alex, have you heard the mess up with Season 12 collection re-release? Are you referring to the wrong discs being shipped inside the case? If so, that's quite the cock-up. That is quite the cock-up. How do you put the wrong discs? How do you put the wrong discs in the bloody case, eh? Deary, deary me. Deary me. Adam, you've met Tom through to Chris. It's a man of course it is. Yeah, you changed it recently, didn't you? It's a Man of Film currently, but I may have to rebrand. No, a Man of Film is very cool. I loved your pic that you put on yesterday as well. You and the clapperboard on the green screen. Looks like you have a good crack doing that stuff, Adam. Also, just to give you a heads up, this is for Adam. I read somewhere that Warner Brothers were doing some cool filmmaking, designy stuff over at where's the Harry Potter studio tour? Is it Leavesden? Is it Leavesden? Something like that. Near Watford, whatever that studio lot is there. They're going to be hiring a ton of filmmakers and designers and all that stuff to work specifically on the Harry Potter stuff. So I know filmmaking and production is your bag. So just keep an eye out for that, dude. I read that online in a design blog a few days ago. So keep an eye out for that, dude. Yes. Through to David, beg your pardon. Yes, so I've met Tom through to David. I've met David Tennant, yes. John Griffiths, I wonder what Dalek Tat would make of the miniature Ashad Cyberman. It looks rubbish, John. I'm really burpy tonight. Pretty burpy. Sorry, guys. I think I'm drinking my tea too fast. I'm just going to completely ignore that and drink some more. I wonder what Dalek Tat would make of the miniature Ashad. Do you know what? It still looked better than what the ultimate character toy figure is going to look like later this year or next year. Oh man, the character stuff. Do you know what? I mean, going back a few years now, I used to really love what character did with the Doctor Who license. You know, a lot of their figures looked really cool. Packaging was really nice. But anyone that's listened to the podcast for the last year or so now will know that excuse me, that there's that my co-host Adam, the Geek's Handbag, he absolutely loves it all, and he still collects it and all that stuff. He loves all that. But I've just over the last couple of years I've just gone off it. I think it's bloody awful now. And the only reason I say that is because I collect some other ranges of other stuff as well. Like the Star Wars Black Series range is leaps and bounds better than any of the character stuff. You know, and some other collectible things. Just the quality. Like even some of the facial features on a lot of the figures from character in the last year, which don't look anything like. They don't look anything like the character, the actors who are playing those characters. So, yeah, even though the miniature Ashad, John, looked rubbish, it will still be better than when character bring out the figure. So that's a dead cert, I reckon. Whenever that is, I mean, we're probably going to get it in like 2025. So, I don't know. Alex, yep, still waiting means I have to pay for Series 12 Steelbook and the collection in the same month. My poor bank account. Oh, dude. Series 12 Steelbook and the collection. Oh, of course, yeah, they're releasing that, aren't they? Yeah. Bloody hell. Tell you what, guys, being a Doctor Who fan is not cheap sometimes. It ain't cheap, man. It ain't cheap. I can't watch Ascension of the Cybermen the same anymore after Adam's comment about the floating Cybermen head looking like a mug. Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things that we weren't fans of in Ascension was the cyber drones, just the floating heads. Yeah, we weren't a fan of those, and no good. Adam put a picture on YouTube, actually. He's got this very cool Cyberman head thing. I don't actually know what it is. I think it might be a cookie jar or something like that. It was a collectible, like a plastic thing that he picked up years ago. And they just look exactly like that. So it looked like somebody's taken a Cyberman cookie jar or a plastic money box, life-size thing, took a photo of it, shoved it in Photoshop, cut it out, and then just put it in the episode. They didn't look good at all, really. Yes. Leavesden, yeah, it is Leavesden, yeah. And you've heard that news. Oh, cool. So you got some stuff in the pipelines. I'm going to put myself forward for. Netflix are hiring too. Oh, cool. Cool. Yeah. You got a bright future, dude. Don't worry. We're going to see your name on some credits for some TV and film stuff in the future, man. I'm sure of it. Right, let's get on to the subject of this evening. I think we've waffled for a while. So ratings then for Series 12. As I said earlier, there's been quite a bit of chat and gumph around ratings for Series 12 since it started, namely because they just haven't been that high this series. Now, we've known for a few years now that the ratings have kind of trailed off as we've gone from series to series, episode to episode. You know, the long and short of it is the ratings are just not that high anymore. As much as we don't like to admit that, and we don't like to talk about that, the ratings are just not there. And yeah, some people have, when we started to see those figures come through for the overnight. So what we've started to do is we have on the podcast, we've started to tell you guys what the overnight figures were for the episode the week before that. And then we also give you the consolidated figures of the sort of the week-long figures for each episode. And as we've gone through and done each one, Adam and I have noticed that, like you guys, that the figures are just not where they used to be. It's as simple as that. So, and because of that, because the figures are openly available to everybody, anyone can see the ratings and whatnot, there's been loads of Twitter accounts and people on Twitter that have just gone into doomsday mode, essentially. So they've said things like, the show is now over, the show's dead, the show's going to be axed. How can anybody like the show anymore when the viewing figures are so terrible? And all that stuff. So I wanted to find out from you guys and just fandom really, what your opinion and your view on that is. I mean, it's definitely a weird subject because, and I'm kind of 80%, it doesn't bother me. Just to give you my point on it, 80% of me is like, well, you know, viewing figures are just not what they used to be. You know, not just for Doctor Who, but for lots of TV shows. You know, steadily over time. I mean, we're so lucky to have Doctor Who on the screen still. You know, we're so lucky because not many shows last this long, good or bad ratings aside. Just naturally, shows don't last this long. So when you couple that with the fact that the ratings haven't been that strong, it's you know, we're very lucky to still have it. So I don't know what's going to happen past series 13, because if I remember correctly, a couple of years ago we reported that the show had been recommissioned up to 2021, which takes us up to series 13 next year. So past that point, who knows if it's going to continue or not. But you cannot get away from the fact that the figures are down. That's, you know. So 80% of me is like, well, that doesn't really bother me because just television in general, figures aren't what they used to be years ago. And individual shows, figures aren't what they used to be. So, and while the quality is there, so as long as they're still making quality Doctor Who and the stories are brilliant, the scripts are very good, and the majority of fandom still likes the show, it doesn't really bother me, and I don't think it should bother many other people really. However, there is a slight, like the other 20% of me, there is a slight little sort of niggly thing that's like, well, Doctor Who doesn't make any money as a show. Now, I'm not talking about commissioning the show for international broadcast, so selling it to other channels internationally, and I'm not talking about merchandise, so I'm not talking about licensing off for, you know, clothing and figures and all that stuff. When you just look at the show as it is now, it doesn't make any money. So the only thing to go on is the viewing public. So if you think about other shows that make money while they're being a TV show at the same time, things like I'm a Celeb, Get Me Out of Here, and Britain's Got Talent and the X Factor, those kind of big shows, they're kind of okay because while the ratings might not be as high as they used to be, they're still bringing in a load of cash, basically, because you call in or you text in to vote for people, and that money, I think some of it goes to charity in some cases. I know I'm a Celeb does that, and then the other part of it goes into the TV production studio as a profit. So those types of programs, they generate revenue and money. So regardless if the viewing figures dip down a little bit, they're still bringing in money. Whereas Doctor Who, like many other BBC shows, they don't have any of that. So they can only base the show on the number of people that are watching it. And that worries me because, like anything to do with TV or film, it's all a numbers game. When you boil everything down, everybody who watches Doctor Who could absolutely love it from top to bottom. And they could write letters and emails to the BBC saying how much they love the show and how amazing it is and all the rest of it. But if there aren't enough people watching it, regardless if you like it or not, it's still a numbers game. And where you have people who are in the kind of creative production chain, so where you have like the creative team and the producers and the writers, and then you have the showrunners, the exec producers and chibbers and stuff. Above those guys, sitting right at the top of the tree, you've got like the top dogs, like the BBC execs and so on. They're the ones who essentially are making the decision to carry on with the show or not. They honestly don't care whether there are fans fighting on Twitter about whether Doctor Who's good or not anymore. They don't care. I mean, people like when you go down a level, when you've got chibbers and the exec producers and all those people care, obviously, because they want to make the show as good as it can be and all that stuff. So they obviously care. But the people who are at the top of the BBC chain, unless they are hardcore Doctor Who fans themselves, they don't care. They will very quickly pull the plug if the numbers are not there. It's as simple as that. So I don't let it bother me too much, but there we go. It is a little niggly, horrible little feeling that crops up now and then. But for the most part, we shouldn't really be bothered about it. Like I've said on the show with Adam over the past couple of months now, as we've been going through each review for Series 12, it's not really people shouldn't worry about it. It's not a case of it's not like Doctor Who's going to be pulled just because the figures have dipped down a little bit from last series. And there are things that can mitigate that as well. There, Chris Chibnall and other people, they can put the reasons forward as to why the figures aren't. So they can say, well, look, we might not have as many people watching the show, but if you look how Series 12 progressed from start to finish, our appreciation index score went up, which is great. So that shows that the people that were watching the show were engaged and they liked it and all the rest of it. And then once that's said and done, then they can probably start to pull in other revenue streams to back that up. So they can say, look, viewing figures might not have been as crazy high as when they were, going back a few years when Tennant was the Doctor and so on. But we've sold a shit ton of the Blu-ray classic Doctor Who collection sets. We've sold a load of Series 12 steelbooks, all that stuff. So, yeah, there's things that you can do to sort of sweeten the deal with the execs at the BBC, I suppose. But so that's my opinion on ratings and stuff. Let's see what you guys thought on that. Before that, though, Alex said I have some good news this week. I'm going to be working with a big production company in Cardiff. It means I have to move there for a few weeks earlier before uni, but never been more scared and excited. Alex, that's freaking awesome, man. That's so cool. I hope you do well there, dude. I know a couple of people who have gone to Cardiff for that very reason, and they've ended up doing really well. So best of luck with that, mate. That's going to be really cool. Matt Steele says, what are your thoughts on the Happiness Patrol? The Happiness Patrol. I'm not. Well, the Happiness Patrol is actually pretty good. A lot of people slate the Happiness Patrol. They certainly think it's not one of McCoy's finest, and I would tend to agree with that. It's not up there with some of his best stories at all. But once you've rewatched it a few times, at least, you do start to see the underlying darkness from that story. It's actually quite a dark story, and there's quite a lot in it as well. So, yeah, Happiness Patrol. Yeah, it's not his finest hour, but they're not too bad. Helen Jones, you saw Adam's post about the Sidemen head. Yeah, it was cool. You went on eBay and got yourself one. Nice one, Helen. Yeah, they are actually kind of cool. Those Sidemen heads, are quite cool. What else we got? Hooving Callum, TV figures across the board have been going down, so I'm not too concerned about them, to be honest. Yeah, I agree. I'm not too concerned, dude. Jordan Shortman, I saw a Twitter post from someone who had a graph which showed the viewing figures for each series as a whole since Eccleston, and they are all between 7.7 to 7.9 to 5 million viewers. Yeah. So the series as a whole, yes, when you look at the averages, they don't fluctuate as much as each episode within the series. So, yeah, it's not too bad. John Griffiths, this viewing figure stuff makes me so angry. Those idiots in the press downplay everything. It's just numbers to them and a chance to court controversy. Some people will believe any rubbish. Of course they will, mate. Yeah. And that's the thing that you have to kind of be careful about, because in the world we live, in the world today, the world of fake news and all that stuff, and the media getting behind certain things just because they feel like it, if they feel it's going to make a decent story and sell papers and whatnot. Yeah, you do have to be careful with that stuff. So, yes, it might be a fact that viewing figures are down. I mean, that is a fact. But it depends on how you report that. So, with some media tabloids and some media outlets, they will say something like, viewing figures are down, so Doctor Who is doomed. They'll go along that kind of storyline, where some other people might be like, viewing figures are down, but BBC iPlayer numbers are up. People who are watching it later on via Sky Plus or some other kind of online way of doing it are up. Appreciation score index is up, and they'll try and balance it out with a bit more of a positive spin. So, yeah, it just depends on what media outlets you're looking at. And some of them, they do it for a headline. They do it to sell papers and to get more viewers on their online paper and stuff. So, yeah, I agree, John. It does. They do like to stir the pots, as we've seen over the decades for everything. All shows ratings aren't great anymore because there are so many channels and streaming services nowadays. Yeah, that's correct, Jordan. Absolutely correct, mate. So it really isn't as cut and dry anymore. So years ago, before the introduction of things like Netflix and Amazon Prime, and over in the US, Hulu, all that stuff, you just had, like years and years ago, when I was a lad, all you had was channels 1 to 4 or 1 to 5. And that was your lot. So that was it. So it was a lot easier to track what people were watching, and it was also simpler for people to watch TV back then. There wasn't that choice of, shall we put a Blu-ray on? Shall we see what's on Netflix? Shall we watch a bit of YouTube? Whatever, it was just like, right, we're watching BBC One tonight. We're going to flick over to ITV to watch something. Then we're back on BBC One, and that was it. So, yeah, so I totally agree. Nowadays, there's so much choice and variety out there. People aren't just glued to BBC One all night anymore. So, yeah, we do have to take that into consideration, dude. What else we got? Oh, there's a few of you on as well. Nice one. Thank you very much for joining the stream, guys. Very much appreciative to have you on board. Love hanging out with you guys and chatting Doctor Who. We are talking about ratings at the moment. We're trying to find out if it's actually that bad. Do we need to be bothered by it? Do we need to be worried? So far, the consensus is no. Don't really need to be worried about it. What have you guys been saying? Planet Zog. Alex. Sorry, Leslie Shergold. Ratings are based upon, I believe, 6,000 to 7,000 people with special set-top boxes sending in their viewing habits. I think that's also... I think that used to be the case, Leslie. I think that was back in the day with like the very old, like Virgin, the very first Virgin TV boxes, things like that. But nowadays with Sky Plus, Sky Q, the new Virgin boxes, all that stuff, they send back data like automatically to everyone that's watching a particular channel. That's all recorded and sent back. Everyone's box now. Alex says, sorry to get technical, but I have to also research this for my podcast, although the overall number is still low. It still has 20% of the audience and decent AI scores. As long as we get that, we should be yeah. No, I completely agree, Alex. I mean, that's what I was saying earlier. The appreciation score, that index score, is really important, because when that starts to go down, then we're in trouble. So as long as we keep that above like 76, 77, we're going to be, we're okay, sort of thing. But yeah, no, I totally agree, mate, as well. Martin Arnold, I try not to worry about ratings. I watch by the DVD. There ain't much else I can do. Modern TV, I guess. New Who has been on for 15 years, and there's probably been a couple of near misses, I think. Yeah. Well, there ain't much more we can do, is there? We watch the show when it goes out, or we record it and watch it a day later, or whatever it might be. We buy the DVDs, we buy the Blu-rays. There's really not much else we can do, really. A couple of near misses, maybe. Yeah. Leslie Shergold, the AI would be a better indicator of a show's success. Absolutely. Yeah. And it has gone up steadily as well. It dipped a little bit towards the beginning, sort of the first quarter of Series 12. It dipped down into the 70s. But then by the time we finish Series 12, we're back up to like 82, which is really, really good. So we're all good, I think. Craig Matthew, my friend who are casuals don't think it's been good for years. What doesn't help is we went from the most standalone Series 11 to Gallifrey Mythos fan service Series 12. Chibnall's era doesn't know what it wants to be. Yeah. I'm not sure it's a case of it doesn't know what it wants to be. I think they just went from being quite experimental to then just finding their feet with a more series-based arc, rather than the more Monster of the Week style thing with Series 11. So I think where it concerns the Doctor, I think they had a pretty good idea. Well, Chibbers had a pretty good idea of what he wanted the Doctor to be and who they wanted them to be about. I think it's just taken a while to find their feet with the storytelling. So I think what they try to do with Series 11 is be like, right, a new Doctor, a new production team, new producers, new showrunner. Let's just turn it on its head and do something completely different, stuff that we've never seen before, just to try and give it that fresh feel, which I think they went a bit too far with. There wasn't enough familiarity with some of the older Doctor Who. Not classic, but just Doctor Who in general. So, but I'm not sure it's okay. Doesn't know what it wants to be. I think it's just they found their feet now after they've tried to do some stuff. So yes, we'll see how it goes with Series 13. I'm assuming that because Series 12 has done a lot better than Series 11, they're going to do a similar style of story writing for that one, where we have a bit more of an arc that runs through. So we'll see. We shall see. DW says, I wouldn't worry about them at the moment. Yep, I agree. No cause for concern at the moment. Alex says, be able to air as the merchandise makes a lot of money. So for now, we shouldn't worry. Yep. I probably speak for some or most of us, especially myself, where my wallet has been dry some months due to spending stuff on Doctor Who collectibles and Blu-rays and conventions and events and whatnot. So, yep, completely agree. It does make a bit of cash for licensing, but not the show itself. John Griffiths, Strictly Celebrity Jungle on Ice. Can't wait. Are you being sarcastic, John, by any chance? Thank God for podcasts. Yay, thank God for podcasts. Matt Steele says the quality of the show is still there. However, the show desperately needs more advertising. A few people I've spoken to thought it had been cancelled as I haven't seen anything advertised. Yeah, I completely agree with that, Matt. I was having the same conversation with Adam a couple of months ago. And someone else at my work as well. They were saying, somebody at my work said exactly the same thing to me a couple of months ago. They said to me, has the new series of Doctor Who started yet? So they didn't say exactly the same thing, thinking about it. They didn't say it was cancelled. They didn't know that it had started. They said, has Doctor Who started yet? And I said, yeah, it's been on for, this was like week 3 now, or something, episode 3. And they said, oh, because I've not seen any adverts on TV. I've not seen anything. I was like, yeah, it's a bit of a shame. It's the marketing budget's a bit dry this time around. But yeah, I know what you mean, dude. I remember back in the day when, from Eccleston's run onwards, we used to see massive billboard advertisements. So I remember driving around and seeing huge billboards of Eccleston and Billy Piper. And initially you thought, okay, well, they're doing that because Doctor Who's literally coming back. So Series 1, Chris Eccleston is the new Doctor. He's going to be back on the screens. They need to advertise heavily. But that continued for years. I remember seeing massive posters of David Tennant and his various companions and stories and stuff. And I remember seeing the same with Matt Smith as well. I think it tailed off a bit in Capaldi's era. But back in the day, going back sort of 10 years-ish, 15 years up until about 5 years ago, I remember seeing loads of adverts. I remember seeing adverts in newspapers, magazines, huge billboards, more advertising on TV channels. I remember seeing lots more going back a few years. So that's a good point. The advertising's not there. Tony Schwartz, Doctor Who, I dead. Tony Schwartz, it's dead. And then Martin Arnold followed up, it's alive. What do you mean by it's dead, Tony? Talk to me. Why do you think Doctor Who's dead? Doctor Who Series 12 has been miles better than Series 11. The appreciation index score has gone up quite high. And it's going to be back for the Christmas and New Year special, plus back next year for Series 13. So, yeah. Why are you saying that it's dead and that they murdered it and all that stuff? Interested in your opinion on that, dude? Martin Arnold, Doctor is the only thing I watch live. Maybe the Odd Nature programme. I just don't bother with the Beeb anymore. Well, we all have to watch bloody Country File before Doctor Who starts. I've never been so annoyed at people picking up bloody twigs before. Christ almighty. And they always run over as well. Bloody Country File. Like quite a few episodes that have started at 10 to 7 over the last couple of months. Put the TV on about 1:45. So I think that's okay. There's only 5 minutes left of Country File. You know, I'll go on Twitter for a few minutes, Instagram, whatever, while I'm making a cup of tea. And then 10 to 7 rolls round. They're still picking up twigs. 5 to 7, they're putting the twigs down. Like, what are you guys doing? Either pick the frickin' twigs up and keep them and do something with them, or just leave them on the ground to begin with. While you lot are messing around with twigs, Doctor Who's meant to be bloody starting. Bloody Country File. So yeah, I'll read you, Martin. Yep. Doctor Who and Strictly Come Dancing are the only things I really watch live. Everything else recorded, and I watch it later. Yeah, I have to watch Strictly, dude, because my wife watches Strictly. I think she went off it a little bit last season. The last series, sorry. But generally speaking, I mean, I found myself bloody getting into it. Strictly Come Dancing a couple of years ago. Anyways, yeah. Tony Schwartz, they killed Cannon. They didn't kill Cannon, dude. Yeah, they didn't kill Cannon. They just added to the canon. So let's identify an important distinction here between killing the canon and adding to the canon. Now, to give you an example, for many, 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 many years, in order to keep Star Wars alive, there was this thing, and probably a lot of you probably know this, there was a thing called the Expanded Universe, or the EU. And that was comprised of loads of different authors and hundreds of books, graphic novels, video games, all that stuff. And that was considered canon. Well, most of it was considered canon for donkey's years. And then when Disney bought out Lucasfilm, they essentially said, right, all of that stuff that you lot thought was canon for the past, I don't know, 10, 15 years, we're now just going to wipe it away. So everything that you thought was canon is no longer canon. So that, in my opinion, that is killing off canon, when they just take everything that was and just say, nope, it's not anymore. We're now going to label it as the Legends range. And the only thing that's canon are the films and a couple of other things that we deem canon. Whereas with Doctor Who, what they did was they didn't say that, because we never knew the Doctor's history before Hartnell anyway. So they didn't say that everything that we've watched for the past nearly 60 years is no longer canon. They didn't kill it. All they've done is say, right, there's this whole chunk of time before we see William Hartnell as the Doctor that nobody knew what was going on anyway. So all we've done is try to give you a little bit of a nugget of interest about where the Doctor's actually from and what they were about pre-Hartnell. They're not saying that Hartnell and everything before or after that we've been watching is wrong, or they've killed it. So yeah, Tony, I don't agree with you, buddy. I think it's incorrect to say that they killed the canon. All they've done is just expand it to flesh out the Doctor in a way that we've never seen before. So, yeah, I don't think they killed it. Craig Matthew, give over Tony. You Wally. I'm not a fan of the show right now, but whilst there's regeneration, then the show can keep reinventing itself for better or worse. Just sit tight and keep calm. Well, yeah, that's what I mean. You know, the Doctor is not a Time Lord. The Doctor is not a Time Lord. So technically, the Doctor is not a Time Lord, no. But if you think about it in the reverse, all of the Time Lords are based off of the Doctor. So what does it matter? So, you know, just because the Doctor's not technically a Time Lord, technically, you know, the Time Lords wouldn't be what they were without the Doctor's ability to regenerate and that science passed on to them anyway. So the Doctor is even, in my opinion, the Doctor is even more connected with the Time Lords now than what he was before he was just labelled another Time Lord. That's just my opinion. You know, again, Tony, I can't agree with you, buddy. Don't know. Because all of the Time Lords, so when Tecteun finally discovered the scientific recipe for being able to regenerate, that was then the start of this whole new civilization of what the Time Lords were. So the fact that there's a little bit of the Doctor in all of their DNA, in my opinion, now that makes them even more connected before you just said, oh, the Doctor's just another Time Lord. So yes, the Doctor might not technically be a Time Lord, but you know, still cool. Leslie Shergold would like to see split figures for live recorded iPlayer, etc. You can get that somewhere, Leslie, if you do a Google for just you just do a search for something like Doctor Who viewing figures split between channels or something like that. They are out there. I've seen them. Actually, if you go on to Doctor Who News, I think it's Doctor Who News dot something. You'll be able to find them on there. Yeah, if you nip over to Doctor Who News, doctorwhonews.net, every week they've got a couple of posts about overnight figures, viewing figures, and they break down who watched what where. So, for example, the Timeless Children, the official ratings for the week, they say that 4.5 million watched on conventional TV, 70,000 watched on their PC, 39,000 on a tablet, and 34,000 on a smartphone. But if you Google around, you'll be able to find things like iPlayer versus other streaming services and stuff like that. Right. Bill Butterfield, I can only be here for a short time today. Keep it up though. Oh, nice to have you on board, Bill. However long you stay, buddy, that's all good. Appreciate you dropping by. John Griffiths, here's some good news. I tell everyone at work who used to watch it to try again. Those who have returned have said it's really good and stuck with it. Oh, that's really cool, dude. Yeah, you'll typically find that. Those people that kind of decided to leave because they weren't happy with the show at that time or whatever it was. Once, that kind of fear of missing out thing kicks in, when you hear someone like you say how good it is, and they can't help but have a little sneak peek back at what it's like. So, yeah, that's really cool. Alex, I mean, they almost cancelled the show after Tennant because of his popularity, and it almost didn't think anybody could fill his shoes. And Smith did a great job, better than Tennant, in my opinion. Well, I don't think that's true, Alex, in that they almost cancelled it after Tennant. I think there was some. I think, if I remember correctly, there was some stuff up in the air because Russell T Davies was leaving, and were they going to put the show on a bit of a break while they found a suitable replacement as showrunner? But then Stephen Moffat was chomping at the bit to do it anyway, so he kind of came on board and cracked on and took over anyway. So I don't think the show was going to be cancelled, but I remember there was something around, are they going to put it on a break because Russell was leaving? And the showrunners, like, in terms of the production side of things and the creative side of things, he's like, or he or she is the main person, to drive the show and all that stuff. So I need to get that rocking and rolling. I wish they'd get rid of the continuity announcer talking over the music. No wonder the Cybermen want to wipe us out, Martin. Yeah, that announcer just creeps over, doesn't he? Or he, I can't remember. They creep over the those first few seconds of the theme. I know. It's a small little thing, Martin, but I agree with you. It's bloody annoying. Martin also says, to be fair, the Time Lords weren't canon until the War Games. They weren't canon until the War Games. Weren't they? Oh, crap. Yeah, you're right. They weren't. Yes, Martin, you corrected. Yes, because they. Yes, no, you're right, because they interfered with the Doctor's. Yeah. And they, other than forcing his regeneration and stuff. Yeah. And that's a story element that's popped up throughout Doctor Who actually since then. This whole the Time Lords interfering with the Doctor's thing, like schedule, I suppose, or what they want to do. So yeah, you're right. Yeah, they weren't canon until the end of Troughton's era. Yeah, good shout. Good shout. So yeah, all the people that are complaining about canon and stuff, that whole Time Lord thing wasn't a thing until Troughton anyway. I don't think. I'm racking my brains to try and think if there's anything in Hartnell's era about the Time Lords and Gallifrey, but yeah, viewers, help us out with this bit. I'm 99% sure what Martin's saying is correct. But yeah, is there anything in Hartnell's era that would be considered a canon story element or something? Anyways, yeah, got to make a good point there, dude. Who else we got? And then the Man of Film, the Doctor in Remembrance knew that he was far more than just another Time Lord, of course. Yes, Adam. Of course. See, that's what I'm trying to say. Like, these people that say that they've killed off the canon and they've destroyed it and stuff, all you've got to do is just go through all of Doctor Who's history, and there are these little nuggets and little things that pop out that are not completely obvious when you're watching it at the time. So everything that you watched before the finale of Series 12 went out, you wouldn't immediately note it down and be like, I'll remember that one day in case they try to kill off the canon. Yes, I must remember to note this little bit down. But it's not until that they do that stuff, like with the finale, you then go back and those little tiny things jump out at you and you think, oh, well, that just reinforces the fact that they have no way, shape or form killed off the canon. All they've done is just add to like some of the Doctor's story that we knew anyway. That's the important thing to keep in mind, I think, is that we only knew about a very small nugget of the Doctor's past and history anyway. So it's not like we had all of it fleshed out and set in stone before Series 12 and they've come along and rewritten it. We didn't know any of it to a degree anyway. They've just added on to it, to tell more stories in the future. So yeah, I think we need to, I think Tony, I appreciate your opinion, dude, and hanging out on the stream, but yeah, I can't agree with you, mate, about they've killed the show and they've killed canon and stuff. Jordan says, I agree. The Seventh Doctor seemed to know much more about his heritage, Time Lord or not, than he let on. I don't think the Timeless Child stuff takes away from it at all. Yeah, I see what you're saying, dude. Alex says, cheers for setting my knowledge. That's all right, dude. No worries. Matt Steele, do you think Jack will be back in the special? And how would you have the companions leave? I think Jack will be back. I think Jack will be back in the finale, in the special, sorry. Whether that's on Christmas Day or New Year's Day, I think Jack will be back. I think it's... I think that little cameo performance that we had mid-Series 12 wasn't enough. No, I think there's more to that. I think there's more to him coming back to warn the Doctor than we got than what we. I think the fact that Jack made that effort to come and warn the Doctor about the Cybermen, I think Jack knows more about what's going on with the Doctor than we know about. That makes sense. So I think there's room there for the Doctor and Jack to have some cool times in the special. I think he'll be back. Companions leaving. I think, yeah. Well, if you believe the papers, I think it's the Daily Mail. Is it the Daily Mail or the Mirror? One of the two. Is the Mirror still going? Can't remember. It's one of those ones. They've reportedly said that Bradley Walsh and Tosin Cole are going to leave at the end of the special, at the end of the year. And as tabloids typically do, they've said that they're leaving because the ratings are terrible and all that crap. But yeah, if that's to be true, then I think those two will just be plonked back in Sheffield. I think they'll be plonked back in Sheffield, and they'll have each other to just live to just crack on with their lives. Basically, I don't think we're going to see anything too crazy. I don't think they're going to die. I thought that at the beginning of Series 12. I thought one of them was going to die, but no. Right, let's get onto some more things. Right, just a heads up, I'm going to be closing the stream down in about 10, 15-ish minutes, guys, just to let you know. So I'm going to go through a few more of these that you guys have put on. Alex, which Doctor Who the collection box set would you like to see next? I would like to see either I would like to see another McCoy set. So McCoy's first series, what was that, 24? 24, 25? I'd like to see that, but I'd also like to see them take a stab and take a risk at how they plan on doing some of the Hartnell and Troughton stuff. Because of the missing episodes and all that, it'd be cool to see how they tackle that one. So that would be cool to see some old black and white Who. John Griffiths again says, catch them young. That's what I say. It was because of SJA that my son became a fan. How about a rerun on Saturday or Sunday on main channels, though not CBBC? Oh man, John. I don't know if you listen to the show, John. I think you do. But when Adam and I have been reviewing the Sarah Jane Adventures for the past 6-7 months now, we've absolutely loved watching and reviewing that show. So I couldn't agree more, mate. Couldn't agree more. Get Sarah Jane back on terrestrial TV. Get younger fans or younger potential Doctor Who fans watching that. Would be awesome. What else we got? Leslie Shergold, do we all have our own version? Do we all have our own versions of canon, though? There's so much material aside from the TV show to draw from. Yeah, you have to be careful with that stuff, Leslie, I think. So all of the, hundreds of books and comics and stuff, even some of the Big Finish stuff. I mean, Big Finish is considered canon, but I remember the Beeb saying a few years ago that yes, it is canon. However, the TV show will always take precedence over that in terms of canon stuff. So I think the TV show will bend, not the overall canon, but they will, if the TV show is doing a storyline that's very, very similar to a storyline that Big Finish have done. So in our case, with the Ascension of the Cybermen story, that's very similar to a Big Finish story called The Silver Turk. And even though they're quite similar, the TV show will look at Big Finish and say, well, that is going to conflict quite heavily with this Big Finish story, but that's okay because the TV show is the TV show and that's the daddy of them all. So, we're going to run with that as canon. Even if it does knock the Big Finish story sideways a little bit, we're okay with that because it's still mostly canon. So, but yeah, there is so much stuff to draw from. You just got to be careful with what you consider to be canon versus what the BBC have labelled as official canon, I suppose. Adam also says Hartnell spoke about his planet/people but weren't referred to by name. Yeah, that is true. Yep. Vince Scoze Kiss. Also, I like this dark past of the Doctor when she was basically a lab rat. They forced her to regenerate multiple times. I'm sure it wasn't a pleasant experience. Yeah, totally agree. I don't think it was all plain sailing for the Doctor when they were younger. Tea's gone cold again. Lara Fail says the meddling monk from Hartnell era was a Time Lord, wasn't he? ? He was, but I don't think he was called a Time Lord. I don't think in the story, in that episode, I don't think they explicitly said this is a Time Lord. So I think looking back on it now, yes, that's true. But I think at the time, I could be wrong, but I don't think they were labelled or called a Time Lord. Jordan says, yeah, I think the Time Lords were first introduced in the War Games. Hartnell spoke about his own planet a few times in stories like An Unearthly Child and The Massacre. That's true. He did speak about his home planet and the people of his home planet a few times. but they weren't. But they were never actually called Time Lords or Gallifrey or anything like that. So actually, no, he did reference Gallifrey, but he never. I don't think he referenced them as Time Lords. I don't think. T-Lord. That's a good name. T-Lord. Susan describes Gallifrey, doesn't mention the name, in the Centaurites, and the first Doctor mentions being from another planet multiple times. Time Lords are never mentioned. Yeah, I thought so. Yeah. So this goes back to Martin's point earlier, that, you know, even though people are kicking up stink about destroying Hartnell's name and everything that we loved about Hartnell being the first Doctor. John, I know you off, buddy. Even Tony. It's been very cool having you on the stream, buddy. Take care, dude. Really good to have you on board. Yeah, so even though a lot of people are kicked up stink about Hartnell not being referred to anymore as the first Doctor, and it goes against that stuff and all that, you know, it's an important thing to consider that during Hartnell's and most of Troughton's era, we never had all this deep canon stuff anyway. So, like I said early on in the stream, it feels to me like they've added to the canon rather than tear it down. Jordan Shortman again says, perhaps cheekily, on the off chance I was ever showrunner, I've actually thought of a 6-year run of stories I'd love to do over the time on the show. Maybe this could be a cool article. Jordan, it's as good as written, mate. Go and do it. Love to hear your thoughts on that. Alex, do you prefer 13 episodes a series at 45 or 10 with 50 minutes? I think I prefer 10 episodes, you know, 50 minutes. Number one, because there's less chance of series fatigue setting in. An interesting story, just very quickly. I've never been into Star Trek. I've never been a Trekkie. But when I started my job at the place I am now a few years ago, my boss, who's a big Star Trek fan and mostly, I think, the Next Generation Star Trek, he had said to me, look, go and give it another watch. He had said that he'd been a big fan of it back at university. Him and his mates used to watch it religiously. Excuse me. And, you know, I should give it a go. I started watching The Next Generation from the beginning. And I got to episode 9, I think it was. Episode 8 or 9. And I thought, okay, I don't hate it, but I am starting to get to that sort of point now where I'm hoping things are going to get changed up and the finale is going to be good. And on Netflix, when I went into the section where you can see all of the episodes per series, there was like 24 episodes. And I thought, I can't do it. I cannot watch another. I've watched like nearly 10 episodes. I'm not even halfway through the series. I can't do it, so I bailed out. So, in my opinion, Alex, if they can do some great storytelling just in 10 episodes, that's better for me than doing 14 episodes or slightly longer. And also, the second reason is that if you've got that, even though it's another 5 minutes, you have got a little bit more time just to get that character storytelling nailed. So we've seen that in Series 12. Some of these stories have been cracking stories because they've had just a little bit more time just to explore those characters a little bit more and that kind of thing. So, yeah, I'm up for 10 episodes, dude. Matt Steele, I'm happy with canon as long as Rowan Atkinson counts. Rowan Atkinson accounts, of course, Matt, no problem. Right, I'm going to wrap this up in a few minutes, dudes. So I'm just going to rattle through these last ones. Alex, also, can we get Davros back in the show, please? It's been a little bit. Yeah, do you know what? I wasn't too fussed on the whole when Davros was back in the Capaldi stories. Yeah. It wasn't terrible, don't get me wrong. It was kind of cool. And don't get me wrong, I love Davros. I think he's a cracking character. I just wasn't overly fussed with what they did with him back in the Capaldi stuff. But yeah, bring him back, it'd be cool. Alex, Joe Bowers, welcome aboard, Joe. Do you think we'll find out who instructed Gat and the Jadoon to find the Ruth Doctor in Fugitive of this Jadoon? So I think we might do. So in the Series 12 finale, The Timeless Children, when the Master was going through, when the Master had the Doctor imprisoned, and he was going through and narrating the backstory and all that stuff about how he had got into the Matrix and found this kind of projection filter thing about Brendan in Ireland and all that stuff. But it was essentially a cover-up for what actually happened with Tecteun discovering that the Doctor could regenerate and all that science stuff. There was, when he was going through this bit about restricting the Time Lord's regeneration cycles to 12, and because they had invented time travel and all that stuff, basically saying that they weren't allowed to interfere with people's time streams and important events and all that stuff. They set up this team of people called the Division, who it was essentially their job to do just that, was to, at times when needed, was to intervene for the sake of the greater good, I suppose. And the previous times that we've seen the Jadoon, who have been working for who's that? You know, in the end of, was it the end of time? When Tennant and Donna, 10th Doctor and Donna, go to this place and there's a very pale looking woman and the Jadoon are there. It's called something. The Shadow Proclamation. There we go. So the Shadow Proclamation actually work for the Jadoon, work for the Division. So the Jadoon, Intergalactic Police Force, they actually work for the Division by way of the Shadow Proclamation. So, as it turns out, so when you say, do you think we'll find out who instructed Gat and the Jadoon to find the Ruth Doctor? We might do, because the Division, the Jadoon work for the Division. So does Gat. Gat reports into the Division. So I think it's those guys that have instructed them to go and find the Ruth Doctor, and I think it's those guys that have imprisoned the Doctor at the end of the finale. And also we saw that prison they were in, which is very, very Sharda, getting Sharda vibes from that. So yeah, it's a little bit convoluted, a little bit complex, but I think we might find out some stuff around that. Gat instructed the Jadoon as the head of the Division. I think no one instructed Gat. Yeah, so Gat works for the Division. The Jadoon work for the Division, as does the Shadow Proclamation. Yep. Martin Arnold, we have got to see Omega return. We absolutely bloody have, mate. Yes. The Omega has to return. What a cracking character. Whose Books? Hello again. Sorry I'm a bit late. Just listened to Warlock's Cross. And that is a really good story from Big Finish. That is a cracking story, Warlock's Cross. Anyone that's not listened to that, go and give that a listen. I haven't listened to that in ages, actually. Let's give that a listen. It's very good. But glad to have you on board. I am actually going to finish up the stream in just a minute, so there's not much more sort of conversation going on. But thank you so much for jumping on anyway. Martin Arnold, were the Division referenced in Fugitive of the Jadoon? No, they weren't. We didn't hear about them until the Master was going through the history of everything from within the Matrix in the finale. Alex, I'm off there, mate. Have a good one. Have a good week. Talk soon. You have a good one, buddy. Have a cracking whatever you're up to. I've got your review for this week's podcast, so all good. Right, guys. I'm going to end this stream in a couple of minutes. It's been absolutely brilliant having all of you jump on and hang out and chat Doctor Who. I'm loving doing these live streams. I'm going to try and get Adam on soon, see what he's up to. That'd be cool to have Adam on and we can chat through with you guys. I love doing this additional conversation and chat stuff because we just don't get time to do all this on the podcast, obviously, and it's not very two-way, obviously. You know, a podcast, we do it, you guys listen, there's no interaction, so it's great to be able to to do this stuff. Whose Books, what do you think of Torchwood Children of Earth? Yeah, I think that's one of the better stories of Torchwood, mate. Or mate, lady, person, whoever you are. I think that's one of the better stories, actually. Yeah, I don't mind Children of Earth. It's not too bad. Martin Arnold, thumbs up. Yeah, cheers, dude. So yes, so thank you again so much. Really, really appreciate you guys jumping on board and chatting with me and going through all of the ratings conversation with Doctor Who. Great answering all your questions around all that stuff as well. So yes, those of you that are on the stream or have been on the stream that don't know the Big Blue Box or who I am, my name's Gary. I do a weekly Doctor Who podcast with my good friend Adam, my co-host. That goes out every Friday. Just head over to our website, bigblueboxpodcast.co.uk. You can listen to our shows there and read all of our articles and so on. And whatever app you listen to podcasts on, just do a search for the Big Blue Box. You'll find us on there. Give us a sub. That'll be cool. Subscribe to this YouTube channel. We'll be doing weekly streams. It's all good hanging out here. Thank you so much, guys, to all of you that have jumped on board. I will see some of you at the weekend at the Talons of Weng Chuang at the BFI. So that's going to be cool as well. And otherwise, take care of yourselves, and I will see you guys again on the next live stream. See you later.